Hello and welcome to Written Words and to my second instalment of the Baron's Yule Feast. If you didn't see the first instalment, you might wish to have a look at that first because it sets the scene for what is about to take place, although this section of the poem is a self-contained story. In the first part, the guests assembled for the Baron's Yule feast at Torksey Hall on the banks of the River Trent. And we were introduced to some of the characters. Wilfrid de Thorold, the Baron, who is the host of the feast, and his beautiful daughter, and also a mysterious minstrel. And this section of the poem is the minstrel's tale. It is a love story with midnight trysts and lots of twists and turns as well. So do enjoy the Stranger Minstrel's Tale. The Daughter of Plantagenet, the Stranger Minstrel's Tale. Fit the first. 'Tis midnight, and the broad full moon pours on the earth her silver noon, sheeted in white like spectres of fear. Their ghostly forms the towers uprear, and their long dark shadows behind them are cast, like the frown of the cloud when the lightning hath passed. The warder sleeps on the battlement, and there is not a breeze to curl the Trent. The leaf is at rest, and the owl is mute, but list, awaked is the woodland lute. The nightingale warbles her omen sweet on the hour when the lady her lover shall meet. She waves her hand from the loophole high, and watcheth with many a struggling sigh, and hearkeneth in doubt, and paleth with fear, yet tremblingly trusts her true knight is near. And there skims o'er the river, or doth her heart dote, as with wing of the nighthawk, her lover's brave boat. His noble form hath attained the strand, and she waves again her small white hand, and breathing to heaven in haste a prayer, softly glides down the lonely stair. And there stands by the portal, all watchful and still, her own faithful damsel awaiting her will. The midnight lamp gleams dull and pale, the maidens twain are weak and frail, but love doth aid his votaries true, while they the massive bolts undo. And a moment hath flown, and the warrior knight embraceth his love in the meek moonlight. The knight his love prayer tenderly thus breathed in his fair one's ear: "O wilt thou not, my Agnes, flee, and quelling thy maiden fear, away in the fleeting skiff with me, and for aye his lone heart cheer?" "O let not bold Romara seek," soft answered his lady love, "a father's doting heart to break, for should I disdainful prove of his high behests, his darling child will thenceforth be counted a thing defiled, and the kindling eye of my martial sire be robbed of its pride and be quenched its fire. Nor long would true Romara deem the heart of his Agnes beat for him, and for him alone, if that heart he knew, to its holiest law could be thus untrue. His plume-crowned helm the warrior bows low o'er her shoulder fair, and bursting sighs the grief disclose his lips cannot declare, and swiftly glide the tears of love adown the lady's cheek. Their deep commingling sorrows prove the love they cannot speak. The moon shines on them as on things she loves to robe with gladness, but all her light no radiance brings unto their heart's dark sadness. Forlornly neath her cheerless ray, bosom to bosom beating, in speechless agony they say, with burning kisses greeting. Nor reck they with what speed doth haste the present hour to join the past. "Ho, Lady Agnes, lady dear," her fearful damsel cries, "you reckon not, I deeply fear, how swift the moontide flies. The surly warder will awake, the morning dawn anon. My heart beginneth sore to quake, I fear we are undone." But love is mightier than fear, The lady hasteth not, the magnet of her heart is near, and peril is forgot. She clingeth to her knight's brave breast, like a lorn turtle-dove, and mid the peril feeleth rest, the full rapt rest of love. I charge thee, hie thee hence, Sir Knight, the damsel shrilly cries. If this should meet her father's sight, by heaven my lady dies. The warrior rouseth all his pride, and looseth his love's caress, yet slowness of heart doth his strength betide, as he looks on her loveliness. But again the damsel their love dream breaks, and self-reproachingly the knight his resolve of its fetters shakes, and his spirit now standeth free. Then came the last absorbing kiss true love can ne'er forego, that dreamy plenitude of bliss, or antepast of woe, that seeming child of heaven which, at its birth, briefly expires and proves itself of earth. The lady hieth to her couch, and when the morn appears, the changes of her cheek avouch full virginly her fears, but her doting father can naught discern in the hues of the rose and the lily that chase each other across her lovely face, save a sweetness that softens his visage stern. Fit the second. Romara's skiff is on the Trent, and the stream is in its strength, for a surge from its ocean fountain sent pervades its giant length. Roars the hoarse Hager in its course, lashing the banks with its wrathful force, and dolefully echoes the wildfowl's scream, as the sallows are swept by the whelming stream, and her callow young are hurled for a meal to the gorge of the barbel, the pike, and the eel. The porpoise heaves mid the rolling tide, and snorting in mirth doth merrily ride, for he hath forsaken his bed in the sea, to sup on the salmon right daintily. In Romara's breast a tempest raves, he heeds not the rage of the furrowy waves. Supremely his hopes and fears are set on the image of Agnes Plantagenet. And though from his vision fade Gainsborough's towers, and the moon is beclouded and darkness lowers, yet the eye of his passion oft pierceth the gloom, and beholds his beloved in her virgin bloom, kneeling before the holy rood, all clasped her hands, beseeching the saints and angels good, that their watchful bands her knight may preserve from a watery tomb. What deathful scream rends Romara's heart? Is it the bittern that, flapping the air, doth shriek in madness and downward dart, as if from the bosom of death she would tear her perished brood, or a shroud would have by their side in the depths of their river grave? Hark, hark, again! 'Tis a human cry, like the shriek of a man about to die, and its desolateness doth fearfully pierce the billowy boom of the torrent fierce. And swift as a thought glides the warrior's boat through the foaming surge to the river's bank, where low by a branch of the osiers dank clingeth one in agony, uttering that doleful cry. His silvery head of age upborne appeared above the wave, so nearly was his strength outworn that all too late to save had been the knight, if another billow its force on his fainting frame had bent. Nay, his feeble grasp by the drooping willow the beat of a pulse might have fatally spent. With eager pounce did Romara take from the yawning wave its prey, but naught to his deliverer spake, the man with the head of grey. And the warrior stripped with needful haste the helpless one of his drenched vest, and wrapped his own warm mantle round the chill one in his deathly swound. The sea-born strength of the stream is spent, and Romara's boat outstrips its speed, for his stalwart arm to the oar is bent, and swiftly the ebbing waves recede. Divinely streaketh the morning star with a wavy light the rippling waters, and the moon looks on from the west afar, and palely smiles with her waning daughters, the thin-strewn stars which their vigil keep, till the orient sun shall awake from sleep. The sun hath awoke, and in garments of gold the turrets of Torksey are livingly rolled. Afar on Trent's margin the flowery lea exhales her dewy fragrancy, and gaily carols the matin lark as the warrior hastes to moor his bark. Two menials hastened to the beach, for signal none need they. On the towers they kept a heedful watch, as the skiff glowed on its way. With silent step and breathless care the rescued one they softly bear, and bring him at their lord's behest to a couch of silken pillowed rest. The serfs could scarce avert their eye from his manly form and mien, as with closed lids all reverently he lay in peace serene. And Romara thought, as he gazing leant o'er the slumberer's form, that so pure a trace of the spirit of heaven with the earthly blent dwelt only there, and in Agnes' face. The leech comes forth at the hour of noon, and saith that the sick from his deathly swoon will awake anon, and Romara's eye, uplit, betokens his heartfelt joy. And again o'er the slumberer's couch he bows, till slowly those peaceful lids unclose, when long with heavenward fixed gaze, with lowly prayer and grateful praise, the aged man from death reprieved, his bosom of its joy relieved. Then did Romara thus address his grey guest in his reverendness: "Now, man of prayer, come tell to me some spell of thy holy mystery. Some vision hast had of the Virgin bright, or message conveyed from the world of light, by the angels of love who in purity stand for the throne of our Lord in the heavenly land. I hope when I die to see them there, for I love the angels so holy and fair, and often I trust my prayer they greet with smiles when I kneel and kiss their feet. In the missal my mother her weeping child gave, but a day or two ere she was laid in the grave. Sage man of prayer, come tell to me what holy shapes in sleep they see, who love the blessed saints and serve them well. I pray thee, sage man, to Romara tell, for again thy dreams, sith to me thou hast said no thanks that I rescued thy soul from the dead. But when the aged man arose and met Romara's wistful eye, what actions shall the change disclose that marked his visage fearfully? From joy to grief and deepest dole, from radiant hope to dark presage of future ills beyond control, hath passed the visage of the sage. Son of an honoured line, I grieve, outspake the reverend seer, that I no guerdon thee can give, but words of woe and fear. Thy sun is setting, and thy race, in thee their goodly heir, shall perish, nor a feeble trace their fated name declare. Thy love is fatal, fatal too, this act of rescue brave. For him who from destruction drew my life no arm can save. He said, and took his lonely way, far from Romara's towers. His fateful end from that sad day o'er Torksey's chieftain lowers. Yet vainly in his heart a shrine hope builds for love with faith. Alas for him with frown malign waiteth the grim king death. Fit the third. Plantagenet hath dungeons deep beneath his castled halls. Plantagenet awakes from sleep to count his dungeoned thralls. Alone with the torch of blood-red flame the man of blood descends, and the fettered captives curse his name as through the vaults he wends. His caverns are visited, all save one, the deepest and direst in gloom, where his father, doomed by a demon's son, abode in a living tomb. I bring thee bread and water, sire, brave usury for thy gold. I fear my filial zeal will tire to visit soon thy hold. Thus spake the fiendish-hearted lord, and wildly laughed in scorn. Like thunder round the cell each word by echoing fiends is borne. But not a human heart is there, the baron's scorn or hate to fear. And the captives tell, as he passeth again, that tyrant in his rage, how an angel hath led the aged man to his heavenly heritage. The wrathful baron little recked that angel was his darling child, or knew his dark ambition checked by her who oft his rage beguiled, by her on whom he ever smiled. This had he known from that dread hour, his darling's smile had lost its power, and his own hand without remorse had laid her at his feet a corse. Plantagenet's banners in pride are borne to the sound of pipe and drum, and his mailed bands with the dawn of morn to Romara's walls are come. We come not as foes, the herald saith, but we bring Plantagenet's shriven faith, that thou, Romara, in thine arms shall soon enfold thy true love's charms. Let no delay thy joy betide, thy Agnes soon shall be thy bride. The raven croaks as talks his lord, attends that bannered host, but the lover is deaf to the omen bird, the fatal mote is crossed. Ride, ride, saith the baron, thy lady fain, and the priest by the altar wait, and the spearmen seize his bridle rein, and hurry him to his fate. A marriage by torchlight, the baron said, this stair to the altar leads. We patter our prayers among the mouldering dead, and there we tell our beads. Along the caverned dungeon's gloom the tyrant strides in haste, and powerless to his dreadful doom the victim followeth fast. The dazed captives quake and stare at the sullen torch's blood-red glare, and the lover starts aghast at the death-like forms they wear. Too late the truth upon him breaks, Romara's heart is faint. Behold thy bride, the baron shrieks, wilt hear the wedding chaunt? This chain once bound thy father here, who would have found his grave, the cursed dotard neath the wave, had not thy hateful hand been near. Be this the bride thou now shalt wed, this dungeon dank thy bridal bed, and when thy youthful blood shall freeze, in death may fiends thy spirit seize. Plantagenet hath minions fell, who do their master's bidding well. Few days Romara pines in dread, his soul is with the sainted dead. Plantagenet hath reached his bourne, what terrors meet his soul forlorn, and full of stain, I may not say, reveal them shall the judgment day. Her orisons at matin hour, at noon and eve and midnight toll, for him doth tearful Agnes pour. Jesu Maria, sain his soul. Jesu Maria, sain his soul. So a love story with a rather sad ending. However, that's not the end of the minstrel. He will come back from time to time to add little bits more to the story. In the next instalment, the tone is quite different. We will hear from a woodman and, more importantly, from a miller who has quite a bawdy, entertaining tale to tell. So thank you very much for joining me in this video. I look forward to seeing you in the next one when we enjoy a slightly more upbeat instalment.